your house with O'Con. Hey, O'Con in your house. Hollywood in your house. Hypocrisy's head in the clouds. Curating all kind of loud. Wrestling in front of the crowds. Paragon's holding it down. Anybody can get it. God's Joseph standing on his decisions. He is the voice. There is no choice. We is them boys in your house making wrestling noise. Moving fast, it's like cruiserweight action. Your house is the perfect distraction. Pumpers in your ears when you in traction. Get this work with some wrestling action. Smoke.
What is up, guys? What's cracking? It is the Man, and I am in your house. You guys already know the vibe. Anytime we slide through, we're here to give you that work when it comes to this professional wrestling business. And guys, it is Wednesday, and you know what that means. If you're part of the household, you know that it is time for the Raw Deal with Howse O'Neal. We break down all the happenings from Monday Night Raw, and when I do that, I don't do that alone. I gotta bring in the big dog herself. That is the big dog, divinely designed Annie O'Neal, back on In Your House. How's it going?
What's up, Con Man? Everything is up. My spirit, my game, my mentality. When we fall, we pivot and we pull ourselves back up because that's just what we do. This is why I'm on my podcast. That which reflects in me reflects in you. You know all about that game. You know all about that game concept. You tell them.
Hey, I know exactly how it goes. You know, it's always about elevation all the time.
Absolutely.
Constant ascension. That's what we love. That's what we live for and thrive for. But I always got to ask, because it's always important, at least in my mind, it's important that while you're looking forward and looking for, you know, evolution and whatnot and trajectory, it's always good to reflect. So I always got to ask you, Annie, how was your last week?
You know what? It's peaks and valleys, you know? You can't always be at the top, but who are you when you're at the bottom? I mean, that's just what life is. How do you climb yourself out of that bedrock when you find yourself there? Because that's what makes the highs that much more gratifying. And we pivot, we climb. You know, your bedrock is in direct proportion to the summit. So we're just climbing. Fresh off my debut at Divine Women's Pro, we tore it down in Wyandotte, Michigan. We installed a new generation of women's wrestling. We had Storm Garrison, we had Ray Larson, we had Jody Threat, the wild child, Jody Threat, and our main event, Stella Buho and Heather Blue. So we got something special. And thanks for everyone who made that show possible. And it's, you know what? That's what we do. We are rolling it out for the women who want to follow in our footsteps. And that's just something that really excites me. It's one of my daily motivators. And just thank you. It's just really fun to be a part of history in the making. So Emerge is this weekend, right?
Emerge is this weekend. Yes. Emerge 81.
So I would ask you about that show, but it didn't happen yet, Con. So
hey, they will definitely have something to talk about next week. I am excited about that show. A lot of great things coming out. I did get a chance to do a little interview series for Emerge Wrestling, where I sat down with our part-time co-host Paragon, which I plug him real quick. He's got a podcast coming to you guys out there on the In Your House Podcast Network, Dear Pro Wrestling. That drops tomorrow morning. So go and check that out. It's everywhere you can get your podcast, at Spotify, Apple, and whatnot. But I got a chance to do this sit-down interview series with him. Then I got a chance to do another one with the Infinite Man Tim, and it was powerful stuff. It's always great to be able to do those type of interviews because for me, the role that I like to play in professional wrestling is I like to make it feel real, you know, and I'm always grateful for somebody that kind of sees that vision that I have to always make it feel real.
And just to pick the mind of the greats like Paragon and guests like you have, it's just fun to be able to bring a different element besides the in-ring action.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I think the Emerge fans love it. And you know what? I'm always happy to do it as long as everybody's. All I care about is appreciate my work, and Emerge, as many years as I've been with them, for all the years, they've always appreciate the work that I do. They always let me be creative, and yeah, I always have a great time at Emerge Wrestling. So I'll be happy to be back this Saturday. That's Emerge 81, Fight for Freedom, big main event. Paragon will be defending the Emerge World Heavyweight Championship against the Infinite Man, Tim. Friends turned foes. This is going to be a great one. Guys, check out that interview series that I dropped. But, Annie, we have to talk a little bit about Monday Night Raw because this is the Raw deal.
It's with Howse and O'Neal. Yeah. It's that time. It's Wednesday, around 4 o'clock.
Yes.
They know what time it is.
Yes, and we got we already got great traction in the chat. We got the voice Josh Joseph. He was saying congrats on the job, on the job there. Good afternoon from OG Tony, a great follower. We love what he does. Then Grunmeister, glad to see you guys. Awesome stuff, Annie.
Thank you. Awesome episode of the Window Lickers.
That was great. So good.
Monday night. By the way, that was
Kevin was amazing.
They had the Goblin, Kevin Calloway.
Yes, he was amazing.
Just to hear all of them chop it up with their unique points of views, I hope to see it again.
Oh, most definitely. He was great. That episode was great. I got a chance to listen to it actually. Popped into my ears this morning when I was on the move, and I was just like, my God, it's just like talk radio, and that's what the vibe I was getting. Very good stuff. So yeah, Window Lickers is doing great stuff. But now what they do, of course, they're the Raw preview show, and they go ahead and alley-oop it to us. We take it, we take the rock, we slam dunk it here on the Raw deal because that's exactly what we're going to do, and that's talk Monday Night Raw. And we have to talk about this opening segment. I got to talk about this street fight here, Annie, because this street fight, and I made sure I took a note of it, this street fight was a lot better than, I don't know what I expected, but it was better than that. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed the action. What were your thoughts?
I really loved how the American Made, they acted with precision against the Wyatt Six. You have to be incredibly calculating against these larger than life individuals. Like, Wyatt Six, they have the tact, they have the solid unit. So you have to be able to really chop them down to size. And what better tactic to use than to chop them off one by one? Just when the Creed brothers were cornering, they cornered Eric Rowan. And they were chopping him apart piece by piece. And you know what? I don't know how many weaknesses the Wyatt Six, but I really feel like that even more humanizing element was exposed.
Yeah, I like what you said there about the humanized element, because I gotta ask you something. I have to, because I've been seeing some noise a little bit on the internet, on social media, because that's what I do. I have to kind of keep in tune and keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on and what people are talking about. So I saw some comments and whatnot, and some fans didn't like the match because they wanted the Wyatts to do more like supernatural, paranormal type shit in this match, but they just wrestled a really good street fight match. And I'm just like, but at the end of the day, it really is still wrestling. And like, I like the idea that they can't, like, if they was just there like no selling stuff, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know, it kind of takes away from the match. Or if they did a spot where like the lights went off and they were gone, and then the lights go out and they're in a different place or whatever. Like, I don't know. I personally myself enjoyed seeing the Wyatts just wrestle a really good street fight. But what's your thoughts on that? Because I saw that noise and I wanted to bring that to your attention and see what you think.
You know what? I think it's a really thin line between keeping the credibility when it comes to the supernatural approach. How many times are the lights going off and randomly disappearing? How long is that going to stay effective? How long is that going to keep the everyone's hanging in suspense? because if that is done too much, then it loses its appeal.
Yes.
Because no matter what, the Wyatt Six will always have this ominous approach following them. But if they run the risk of being this one trick machine, and that's not what we want. I think how we are seeing them perform in the ring right now, I think it's critical to keeping the momentum behind them going, because I think the humanized approach is what needs to be had now. Because how many times have we wrestled with the supernatural and we find its limitations? Yeah. But if the Wyatt Six are being billed as these people who were abandoned, they are the misfits left behind. I feel like that has a lot more traction to for long-term storylines and interest from behalf of the viewers.
So, like, when I see, and I think I had this conversation with the voice Josh Joseph many weeks ago, when I see the Wyatts, the evolution of what the Wyatts are, it's not so much like spooky supernatural type vibes. It's more like the way I'm narrowing it down is that it's, like you said, a group of misfits that have come together for this purpose, and they've taken on these personas, but that doesn't make them specifically like supernatural themselves. They can still sustain damage, but I like the idea that they're these figures, they're these characters, but then they can go out there and they can really give you like a really damn good match. I like the parallels in that.
I think we have to remember that they are not the Wyatt family. They are an extension of that. They are going to be their own entity.
Yeah.
So yes, there are going to be parallels that will be drawn, but they are not the same. So we have to let them do their own thing. We have to let them, and I feel like the backwoods deliverance aspect was done. Like that can never be replicated. So how do we honor that which came before, but how do we make it new at the same time?
Right. No, I agree with that. How are you making it new at the same time?
Yeah.
Oh. With the chair there.
Because
he's going to
you'll never. Yeah, he is. See, that's smart. That's smart on behalf of Chad Gable. You have to pick the Wyatts off one by one. I don't think you'll ever win in the numbers game against the Wyatt Six. That they're just too much of a solid unit.
Yeah.
But you start chopping off one at a time, like the path to victory becomes a little more clear.
Absolutely. I thought at the end of the day, I thought this was a good match.
I agree. And would this be the fourth win from Wyatt Six over American Made?
I think it is. Yeah, collectively, in terms of singles matches, because we had Howdy and Chad Gable, and then we had some tag matches. I think that I at this point, I think that the Wyatts are in fact undefeated, and honestly, I think we got to cut that at the legs here pretty soon.
And do you think this has negative ramifications for the faction that is American Made? Do you think these wins have wounded them in any way?
No, because I think that once they finally get away from this, they'll make whatever they're going to do next is going to be really good. And I think that the Wyatts will go off and do their thing. They'll do their thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that their trajectory is going to be hurt from it. I just think right now it had to be somebody, and this was the way to kind of bring in Chad Gable's stable and do their thing. And I at the end of the day, I think it'll be fine. I really do. But I do think that you kind of gotta. I think you kind of got to move on at some point, honestly. It's just like OG Tony, he was saying here, he thinks it's time to move on to a new feud. I think I think we might be kind of at that point, in my opinion, but what are your thoughts?
I think that this program was wrapped up in a pretty bow, and I do think that it's definitely time to move on. And, you know, I'm not really sure what's next for the Gable stable, but Chad Gable has a really awesome knack for staying relevant for some reason. He's just the heat generator that he is. I'm not sure who's next, but I'm ready to see what's next too.
Yeah, me too. And I think we kind of talked about this a little bit a few weeks ago. The Wyatt Six maybe going after Judgment Day for their next feud. It's most definitely something that could happen. I mean, I would like to see it. I think that, to me, logically, that's the next step that you take, is you move there, and it kind of goes to me with what the Wyatt Six are doing, going after broken families. That's kind of been what they're doing, and I think the Judgment Day perfectly can be described right now as a broken family. So we got to move on here, because we got a lot to talk about, a lot to cover, because not only do we have a really good Monday Night Raw, we had a really, really exceptional NXT. And I just felt like we couldn't really ignore that. We're going to talk a little bit of NXT a little bit later on in the show, because there's just so much to. I mean, we couldn't ignore it. We really just couldn't.
Too much not to discuss.
Yeah, most definitely, because there's so much. There's so much on Monday Night Raw. I want to ask you this. We don't have to talk.
Before my undiagnosed ADHD, goes off on a tangent, we should go forward.
Yes, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. And I what they moved forward with something, and that's re-putting the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships on Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill as they defeated the Unholy Union. And I've been kind of waiting to say this a little bit. Like, I like the idea of the Unholy Union and what they could have been. I think they became a watered-down version of themselves, and it just wasn't interesting. I would have liked to see them go like a little bit deeper into maybe witchy promos or something like that, because I felt like that was the lane. Mm-hmm. And then what are they doing?
That's so interesting you say that. What do you think was so watered down?
I just felt like when they came out, it wasn't who they could have been. I wanted to see them dive a little bit more in the character, except the only thing is, it just felt like the vibe was there, but they didn't really dive deep into the character like they had before. It felt like they would just come out and, attack people or anything. I think, what I really think it is, now that I'm kind of working through it here in my brain, I'm like, I just don't think they really got enough mic time. I felt like that I didn't get a chance to really know what they're champions, but they didn't talk a whole lot to me, and it's I feel like that. I feel like that they went in a different direction, because they're okay, they're really not going anywhere. I didn't see the trajectory of the Unholy Union. I like the idea of adding Blair Davenport to the mix, but they haven't even cemented that in stone yet. So I feel like they just pivoted and was hey, let's put it on, two women that we feel like are going to be top women on their own at some point. We'll put the tag titles on them again, give them a second run, and just let them have that until we figure out what to do next. Because I really feel like there's still not a clear path direction with the Women's Tag Team Championships, which is a shame, because there's a lot of great.
The talent is there.
It's most definitely there. So I just man, I just wish somebody would just take that division and kind of nurture it and whatnot. So but that's a whole nother thing that we don't have to get into. I guess, what are your thoughts with the Women's Tag Team Championships? Where do you feel like we are with them? Like I said, we had the one title change at Bash of Berlin. That's when the titles went back to Bianca and Jade. Then they defended again against Unholy Union. They lost. What are your thoughts? Where are we at with this?
You know what? I absolutely love Bianca and Jade as a unit. They both look like larger than life athletes. They have the look, they have the skill, they have the movement, they have the aura. But I feel like there's something a bit disjointed in their connection. Like their in-ring work is great, and Jade has really improved. Mm-hmm. She is really coming together as an even more cohesive performer, but I just feel like something is off in their chemistry, and I'm not sure what I'm anticipating or if I'm reading into something, but just this match over Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, there was just something different in their makeup. There's something I can't put my finger on it, Con. I really can't. But you know what? They got the job done in Berlin. They and the first this is their second. No, this is their second title defense.
It is.
Or is it their first?
It's their second.
But I think it's their over Alba and Isla. I really feel like this match solidified them as the tag team champs. But I feel like Alba and Isla, they're gonna fall into obscurity. And I really don't want that for them because I like what they have going on. And you're right. I feel like one of their biggest strengths is when they actually get to talk. And they really didn't get too much of that opportunity.
Yeah.
I got to do in Berlin. And Bianca Belair is an absolute workhorse, man. She her movements in the ring are so amazing. Like, she was in the Next in Line program, right?
She was.
What was her sport?
Track and field.
It really shows. It really shows just the air that she gets. And from such a small person, she knows how to project her energy to be this amazing, larger-than-life Amazon, and I just love that about her. But what do you think is next for our I don't know. My prediction here right now, and I'll take it back later, but I don't think they're going to have a long title run.
I don't think so either. I don't think they should. I think that they should put the titles on somebody else. But then my mindset is like, who's it gonna be? Who are the next ones in line to take those titles? So if we lay it out there, so there's like Damage Control that's floating around who are just a tag team right now. Then you have the Pure Fusion Collective. There it is. Pure Fusion Collective. Yeah, you got them. Jesus, that name. But you got them. And then who else do you have? You have the Unholy Union. I think they sent Lyra Valkyria back down to NXT, I think last that I saw. And then also you don't really see Life of the Party, Caden Carter and Katata Chance too much. And here's the thing, like here's what and I'm gonna rant about this real quick, and then we'll get back on track here, man. I'm so mad at WWE because I really put a lot of stock in Katana Chance and Caden Carter, and I thought I made them my last year's tag team of the year. I gave them my tag team of the year award and it was mainly based on what I thought that they could become and continue to build and be as if the trajectory would have moved in the right direction. And then they just didn't do anything with them because this is around the time when they were doing like backstage segments and actually trying to do things with them and give them time. And I'm like, give them a little bit of time to work it through and figure out this Life of the Party gimmick, and I think it will be great. And I just think they gave up on it really quick. So disappointed. They're just mad.
Especially when there's so much potential there and it's not being used. It's like
they're a legitimate women's tag team.
which is few and far between. So we really need something soon to really shake up this women's tag division. Otherwise, I feel like it runs the risk of what's going on with the world tag champions right now. Like, it's, who cares? I care, but that's not the response you want the fans to have.
Yeah. I don't know. I had to throw that out there again just because I thought that Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, just incredible in-ring talents, just like Kevin Calloway is saying here. They still have such potential. They have great tandem offense. And that's what I like in my tag teams. I like my tag teams to dress alike. I like them to be a unit. That's how I like my tag team wrestling. Like, I've even grown really fond of like Nathan Frazier and Fraxium over there on NXT, because I used to be like, I don't really care for these guys. They're two separate singles competitors, and I don't like those tag teams. And then they really just came together and gelled as a team. And I'm like, you know what? I like these guys. I like what they bring to the table, and it's because of their tandem offense and the way they've just gelled together as a team. And we'll definitely talk about them a little bit later. But I want to get back to Monday Night Raw, just because we have so much to cover, and this was a heavy Monday Night Raw. This was really heavy because we had the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. He was featured there on the show, as they were there in Canada. Bret Hart makes an appearance on Monday Night Raw, which is always great to see. And it just makes me think, one of the first things that came through my mind when I saw he was coming on the show, and I'm like, man, now that Vince is gone, everybody's coming back. So
Seriously.
I love it.
And you know what? Who else would come out better than Bret Hart in Calgary? And you know what? I mean, I feel like it's widely known that Canadians love hockey, but I didn't realize how much Canadians love wrestling. I didn't realize how much history, especially Hart history, occurred in the Saddle Dome. I thought that was really cool. Bret's opening dialogue really, really, really spoke with me. And he really set up the promo for Sami Zayn to come out and stand toe-to-toe with Gunther. I really, really thought that was awesome. He said that, Canadian champions don't duck a challenge. And I feel like that was a really interesting factor that was added into that promo, because it's something that really, really was cohesive when Sami came out and he was, trying to enter in the title picture one more time.
Oh, man. And I think we're definitely leading there, So I thought that when we were getting this, when we were getting Bret Hart coming on the show, I thought we were going in a different direction. I thought he was going to come on there, and I thought that he was going to be confronted by Drew McIntyre. And I talked about this on the Sunday house party this past week, and I was like, what if? I don't think he would, but just what if Bret Hart took a Claymore from Drew McIntyre and really just pissed CM Punk off? Because CM Punk, it's well known that one of CM Punk's idols is Bret Hart. A lot of things that he does is in memoriam to one of his idols, Bret Hart. So I just felt like that we were going to go in that direction. But I'm not mad at the direction that we went in. And a lot of that is because this turned into an interaction with Gunther. Gunther comes out, the world heavyweight champion. And man, I'm shutting down. I'm shutting down the noise. I'm shutting down the noise real quick, Annie. I just got to do it because if there's people, if there's people out there that are still saying that Gunther is not entertaining, I'm not listening to you. I mean, he's entertaining.
Two different shows. You're watching two different shows.
Yes,
because when he opens his mouth, people listen. He doesn't even have to be in a match, and just the level of hatred coming in from the audience is like overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like once he starts smiling, especially once he has a chance to register what someone is saying to him, you know it's going to be good.
Yes.
You might hate him, but you're going to love what he has to say.
I agree. I just really feel like that Gunther is coming into his own. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, people say things like, "Oh, you gotta appreciate greatness while it's there in front of you." Like, there's a lot of people that kind of push greatness away. You know what I'm saying? And it feels like that's the thing with Gunther, because. So here's what's developing in my brain with Gunther as far as a character. We know how much of a blue chipper that he is in the ring. I mean, to me, he gives me vibes of a combination of Randy Orton mixed with some Dean Malenko. So
sure.
That's what I get there. But like, just the vibe that he's giving, it's given like a Tom Brady, that type, like, he's super successful and I hate him for it, you know, like, just that type of vibe right there. Like, but the great thing about it is that he knows that his greatness pisses people off and he plays to it. And I think that's really what we're seeing as far as the evolution of Gunther as a character.
And the thing is, you can't contest the greatness. You really can't, because like if people have been paying attention to the pattern, what Gunther says, he does. How many people can really say that? And one thing in promo that I really, really, really appreciated is how he said that one of the greatest wrestlers of all time was also not in his league. Like, essentially saying that Bret Hart is here and Gunther's here, and it's funny that, and he said to Sami Zayn that he doesn't even register in the same arena as Bret Hart. I'm like, did you just you just set yourself in a whole new like he's Dr. Manhattan just looking down at humanity beneath him.
Yes.
Like, I'm like, How do you disparage one of the greats of all time, and then like you arrogantly say that you're levels above him? Like, what? No, like, but you know what? Regardless of how people say or feel about Gunther, he has that belt for a reason.
He does.
He really does.
He does. Like, I
not
love
only
what he does.
Not only does his chops like destroy a man, but his words chop them down to size. And I love Gunther. I love a really good, arrogant bad guy.
Yes.
Like, I love to hate them.
He plays it so well. He plays it so well, and then he backs it up. He delivers, and like this right here, Voice said Gunther talking nonsense that Goldberg was better. The only time I wanted to chop Gunther, when he's dropped that line, I was like, ain't no way he said that. I can't believe this man really. I was there. I was like, wow.
Jaw to the floor. Jaw to the floor. I had to stretch before I picked up my jaw off the floor. I really did. I'm like, did he just say that?
He had to get the okay.
Like the audacity in Calgary, like country, like, come on, Gunther.
Yes.
Like, you know what? It's Gunther versus everybody, and that's just how it is.
I think that's how he likes it, honestly. I really do. I like this segment in general. I really do. I think Sami Zayn came out looking strong for it. I just really feel like Sami Zayn is the next logical opponent for Gunther, because now we're starting to dig a little bit deeper into the Gunther story, because his first opponent was Randy Orton, which was, I mean, we all know was a great match, fantastic match at Bash in Berlin. I mean, just an instant classic. But then now it's the story here is Gunther is having to kind of face some demons now because not many have defeated this man. There's only two, and one of them is Ilya Dragunov, and the other one is Sami Zayn. So we know that Sami Zayn ended that historic 666-day historic Intercontinental Championship title reign there at WrestleMania. And we know that Gunther is now the World Heavyweight Champion. We know that IC title built him into what we see today. But now it's like there's a little bit of demon there with Sami Zayn, and Gunther's going to have to face his demons because one of the blemishes on his records, and Gunther is a man that likes no blemishes. He likes complete efficiency. I don't know when they're going to go at it, but when it does happen, I think it's going to be great, but I don't see the Gunther title reign ending anytime soon right now. I think he's got to have a lengthy reign. I think that's something that Kevin Calloway had talked a little bit about on Window Lickers. I agree with that. So that's my mindset on that. But I want to ask you before we move on to the next topic here. Let's talk about where Gunther was at WrestleMania compared to where Gunther is at now for you. Do you feel like Gunther is bigger than he was back then? Do you feel like Gunther is a top guy now, at least more so than he was considered back then?
I do, and it's only rising. You know, he's only going to stand more on top of the world. You know, things take time. You don't rule the world in one day. You need the momentum that's going to carry you there. And I really feel like this title reign is really good for Sami Zayn. Also, is good for him also. You know, it gives him something to do, and you know, for a face, and when they're in the championship picture, it's the chase that really matters. So, yeah. I feel like it's good for both of them, but I feel like, Gunther is only stepping more into the persona that he projects outwardly in his head. And as much as I love when people are humbled, it's one of my favorite things. But he's only going to succeed even more.
Yeah, I think so too. It's been a deserved ascension for Gunther, who's, I mean, really just coming to his own. It's really great to see the work that he's put in and to see him with that World Heavyweight Champion. It feels right to me. I mean, as far as him being champion, and I really vibe with it. But I will say this: I don't want to talk too much about this. There's other stuff we got to talk about, but I saw that the Pure Fusion Collective was defeated by Lyra Valkyria, Zelina Vega, and the returning Natalya. I don't know what you felt about that. Because there was mixed reaction. Some people say that Natalya didn't get a pop in Canada. Others say that she did. It didn't sound real loud to me, but what are your thoughts? Do you feel like she got a pop in Canada or not?
You know what? I still, no matter how loud the audience is for someone when they come through the curtain, she is still a hometown hero. And you know what? You put her in that match, she's going to deliver. Right. She's still one of my favorites to watch in the ring. Like she, you know what? She gives the younger talent a run for their money. Like she is a ring general in her own lane. Facts. So, I'm a big Natty fan. I popped when she came out, but who else is going to come out in Calgary?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Who else is going to be that mystery person? It makes sense to me. I mean, realistically, who else do you think could have done it other than Natty? Who else would have been your pick?
Oof, I don't see. There was the only other person that I would think of, just because a lot of Canada is like a marquee crowd and whatnot, but they would. I'm glad they didn't do it on there. Like if they for some reason popped in somebody like Roxanne Perez or something like that to come, or somebody for an NXT call up or something. But I think at the end of the day, Natalya was the right pick just because of where they were at. You know, I know a lot of people, and that's the reason that I brought it up, because I know a lot of people have Natalya exhaustion. Like, they're just kind of like, she's just kind of there. It feels like she's just collecting the check. But also at the same time, like, I think she's fading more into the backstage role. I really feel like that because I see a lot of videos on IG of like Natalya like training with people that I've done shows with, you know, and so she's really like down there like giving back to the business and stuff. And I think really like I think she knows that like all her runs, I mean maybe one more Natalya women's world heavyweight title run.
I don't think it's necessary.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think so. I feel like she is just gracefully going to, you know, transition from being on front of the screen to being behind it. She knows she's a goat.
Yeah.
She doesn't. She's gotten her flowers for so many years, and I simply don't think she needs it. You know, I think she showed up and showed out for Zelina Vega and Lyra. But, and I feel like this was a nod of respect for Natalya and for everything that she's done for women's wrestling. Like, she was one of the cornerstones of the generation of women that transitioned from the divas to a solid women's division in WWE. And she's laid that foundation. So I don't, we know who she is. The women aren't ever going to forget her contributions. So I don't think she needs it.
Hey, that's a solid point. That is a very solid point. Also, I want to bring up what Voice is saying here. When are we getting a women's IC title? And Natty's days are over. Time to be behind the scenes. She absolutely brings nothing to the future of the WWE's women's division. He has been fantastic, but we live in today. And I think the only thing I don't agree with there is that she doesn't bring anything to the WWE women's division, because I think that in itself the answer to that is what she could bring to the backstage and what she can do to help them hone. I don't think, if you mean like as far as being on screen and her being a character and whatnot, no. If that's what you mean, yeah, there's no need for it really, unless they want to put her in like that Dolph Ziggler-esque type role where she like bring in somebody new and they just need somebody to make the new girl look good, because Natty.
But I think that's what Chelsea Green is doing.
That's exactly what Chelsea Green is doing.
Well,
yes, she does.
And I love, like, yeah, Natty can do that, but like she doesn't need to. She's fulfilled her purpose. And I mean that with the utmost respect. Like,
for sure,
she was a trailblazer who led us from one decade into the next. Like, and there's a point in time where you need to step back and let other people have the spotlight. And I really feel like we're in that stretch with Natalya. I mean, if anything, maybe an on-air like a general manager, like.
Oh, that'd be okay. I'd be okay with that. I think she'd be a really good general manager.
She can have Adam Pearce's job.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it because he's not. He is not, and but I will say this, because we have to talk a little bit about Adam Pearce. I'm glad you said that. We have to talk a little bit about Adam Pearce, because we saw Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre, this man is on a different level right now. I mean, he confronted his longtime friend Wade Barrett about getting in the way of the CM Punk confrontation, and it just felt like things were going to get tense there, Annie. But, you know, they kind of calmed things down because Adam Pearce came out. And Adam Pearce, who we have criticized for weeks, ladies and gentlemen, we have been giving this man pure hell. He finally made a right decision, because this has got to end. This CM Punk, this Drew McIntyre thing, it's got to end. And I don't just mean that in storyline. I also mean out too, because I think they need to be away from each other, and I think that they need to move on to the next thing. But this is exactly what we knew was going to be coming, Annie. We talked about it on the show last week, and that is what we knew what would happen. And that's Drew McIntyre learning that he is going to face CM Punk inside Hell in a Cell at WWE Bad Blood. We both kind of knew it was coming. They made this announcement. What are your thoughts on the segment and the announcement?
what more would we want for the final outcome between these two people who absolutely hate each other? What else do you do with them besides put them in a cage and let them fight?
Yep.
Like, I can't wait to see what unfolds. Like, especially after how Drew McIntyre was so excited that he thought that he ended CM Punk's career. He was all too excited because what he thought happened didn't actually happen. Drew McIntyre is like just what is occurring in his brain space right now. Like, couldn't be more disjointed from reality because, you know what? He is the embodiment of what happens when you can't look in the accountability mirror. Like, it's just like everywhere he turns and the mirror is like trying to look him back in the face, and he is just averting.
Yep.
Averting. Like, you start turning on someone who had your back for the longest time. Are you losing it?
Yeah, he's losing his mind.
And he didn't stretch before he reached Khan. Like, like I understand, you know, you feel like CM Punk interfered with main event after main event after main event, but at the same time, like, when is enough? You know, the fact that Barrett was so willing to put his own body and his own career on the line to stop a friend from doing something really stupid.
Yep.
Like that's what makes you mad. That's what you're stewing over when you can't sleep at night, because I don't know what kind of bender that Drew McIntyre is on, but it's delusion. So, I mean, what did you think when AP came out and interrupted?
You know, I kind of felt like that so we knew where it was leading to in terms of the match announcement. I don't know why I thought CM Punk was going to be on the show. I guess they're going to they had him off because they're selling the injuries, which of course, I mean, it makes sense. So I'm not saying that's bad or dumb or anything like that. I'm just saying, as far as him coming out, him being Adam Pearce, I think it finally felt like, all right, man, I have to do this. I have to actually put my foot down for once. And the only thing that you guys are going to respond to is to just rip each other apart. So yeah, Hell in a Cell. The delivery I think was good, but I wanna focus a little bit more on Drew in terms of the announcement there, because one thing that I noticed when I watched that segment was the look on Drew McIntyre's face when he realized that it was Hell in a Cell, and it looked like the wheels were kind of turning. He didn't look as confident as he was looking like that he was prior to that. So I just felt like that something went on in Drew McIntyre's head where he's like, oh, Hell in a Cell? Because we all know what Hell in a Cell means. Hell in a Cell has been the this is it. We're done. We're doing this. We're going to rip each other to shreds. And after this, we're done with each other. But the Cell always takes a piece of everybody that comes in it. You never leave the same way that you came into the Cell. You always leave a little bit of piece of yourself with it. And this is what it has to be. This is how they have to sell it. Like, I know we've had some gimmicky Hell in a Cell matches in the past. Thankfully, the one Hell in a Cell match I was there for was not gimmicky. It was badass. 2008 SummerSlam, Undertaker versus Edge for the World Heavyweight Championship inside Hell in a Cell. That was a badass Hell in a Cell match. So I know when I see a badass Hell in a Cell match, and I don't think that this one between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre is going to be gimmicky. I think they're going to rip each other to shreds. I'm really excited for this match between these two. What are your thoughts on the physicality, everything that we can see? And we still have build-up. I guess, what are your thoughts on the build-up that we can see leading up to this match?
You know what? I did catch the look on Drew McIntyre's face when you know, that little piece of information was delivered by AP. He looked worried. You're right. He didn't look as confident as he was while he was cheesing it up before Adam Pearce came out. You know, all of us have a foil in our lives. All of us have that one person who's going to bring us back to reality when we, you know, when our ego is running the show.
Yeah.
And that's the Drew McIntyre show right now. And that's going to be CM Punk. And if there's anyone who's more hungry to settle a score than Drew McIntyre, it's going to be CM Punk. I feel like Drew McIntyre's like bloodlust really set CM Punk into the stratosphere. I really feel like that retribution will be delivered in Hell in a Cell. And I mean, like, I feel like CM Punk, you know, we know how vocal he is and we know how outspoken he is, but
yeah,
once provoked, that vendetta doesn't get resolved easily. And I wonder what the buildup is going to be next, because we've seen a lot unfold in this program. We really have. So how are we going to keep it interesting between now and October 5th? That's my only concerning factor.
Yeah, and that's legit. That's a legitimate thought. But I counter that with saying, I mean, they've kept it interesting for almost a year now. I do trust that they can do it a few more weeks and finally blow this thing off. I do. I don't know what that's going to be for the next 2-3 weeks, but I do have confidence that they'll carry this thing and make it feel bigger heading into Bad Blood, which now Bad Blood has really big implications. It doesn't just feel like one of those B pay-per-views. It really feels like effort's getting put in to each and every one of these shows, and I think that it's really great. I think that most definitely whatever you continue to have on Bad Blood, and we'll talk about it when it gets closer to that time, ladies and gentlemen, but I think we already have Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. This is a one-on-one match I think people have been anticipating to see for a while now. You have this match here that's set in stone, the Hell in a Cell match. You also have Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan for the World Heavyweight Championship. I think that's going to... So this show is really rounded out into a really good show, and that's really, once again, due to these shows that they're putting on, them being the WWE, and really just sticking with it. So, Jey Uso, I want to pivot to that real quick because we still have a little bit to talk about. We got NXT to cover, and then of course we have our segment, Annie, Are You Okay? We're gonna ask her something that might be kind of irritating Annie, something that she has to confront, to come to terms with. We'll talk about it when we get there, but before we take our break and talk a little bit of NXT and whatnot, I want to talk about Jey Uso, because Jey Uso defeated Braun Strowman, Ilya Dragunov, and Pete Dunne to win the Intercontinental title #1 contenders tournament. I felt like I kind of saw that coming, but what I didn't see coming is Big Bronson Reed coming and totally destroying Braun Strowman and destroying that announce table. That was insane.
Like, that was a visceral response. Yet again, I had to stretch before I bent over and picked up my jaw off the floor. Because, damn, like, you never know when Bronson Reed will show up. And the fact that he couldn't compete in this tournament, he showed up. He made that statement. And against the biggest dude in the room, okay, took him out. Like, It was nothing. Nothing. You know, and there were a couple of points throughout this match that Pete Dunne, Ilya, and Jay were just trying to, take Braun Strowman down, and, they worked so well in cohesion to do that, but it wasn't enough. Bronson Reed came in and finished him.
Most definitely. And so I felt like it was interesting as far as this goes, this ending here, because we ended there with Jey Uso, and he wins with the super kick and the Uso splash to pick up the victory, and he's earned the right to challenge Braun Breaker for his first singles title. So okay, I think we already had a conversation about this exact match. And I think that when we did, I think that I said, if they do this match, I'm going to hate it because it's too early to take the title off of Braun Breaker. It's just way too early to do it. But also, I want to see Jey Uso win something. And I think that the narrative with Jey Uso kind of is that he can get those main event spots, but he can't get the job done. So if he gets the job done, I'm going to be mad. But then if Braun Breaker wins, I'm still going to be mad because I'm like, dang, because now you're just still hurting Jey. So what's your thoughts on this? I mean, great match on paper. Don't get me wrong. They're going to tear the house down when they go up against each other. But there's no scenario where I'm going to be happy.
You know, I'm going to have to agree with you there because I don't want to see either lose. You know, Jay's been involved with some heavy storylines, but I want to see what he can do as a singles competitor. I want to see what he is capable of. But as much as he deserves that title, I don't think he's going to win it. Yeah. But what kind of repercussions does it have for him after? I mean, yeah, he can follow mommy around. They can get Waffle House. He can be best bros with Damian Priest. Like, I love that. Big happy family. But personally, I don't know what is to come. And that's where I'm a little scared.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. That's my thoughts on it.
I don't think Breaker's going to lose. And also, like, there was a segment last week where, you know, Breaker really told Jay, like, Jay, they're different people. They look the same. They're really copy and paste versions of each other.
Very similar.
Really. But, I mean, does that set up in another program between Jay and Braun? Like, you know, there were going to be consequences if he didn't, you know, back out of the tournament. Is that going to set up something else? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good thought. I want to, maybe this thing lasts more than just this one-off. So I don't know where you go with that. If that's a possibility, if they end up with like having a match series or something like that, I don't know. But I just know right now, if this is a one-off, I hate it for both of them. If Breaker wins, then good for Breaker. That's just another opponent but I don't like it because like everybody, like Jay's in an interesting situation where he's super over, but they don't really have a great lane for him right now, and like people were talking and those conversations are being had about what should we do with Jey Uso, and it's like, that they might be just floating him around until it's about time for him to get back involved in that bloodline situation, which I do think at some point is in his future. But maybe they're just floating him around for that reason. But it's tough to see because he is one of the most over baby faces right now. So I just think that's an interesting conversation as far as what's happening with Jey Uso.
I feel like he's in a very similar predicament to Sami Zayn. Like, what is next? Yeah. Because both of these people are well beloved. We hear that whenever they come out from behind the curtain. We know that. We hear that. But without, I don't know. We need to know. And I don't know. But only one way to find out, and that's to watch.
Yep. And that is exactly what we have done, and that's why we bring you guys the Raw deal with Howse and O'Neal. So guys, we are going to take a break, pay a few bills, and guys, when we do come back, we are going to ask Annie if she is okay check up on her. Just make sure, just let her go ahead and get it out of her system and knock that out, because I need her to have a clear conscience. I need her to be clear in mind, because we have a lot to talk about when we talk NXT. And guys, that is on the other side of this break.
A-N-I-S. Anus. Bam. 800 points. That's game.
It's not how you spell anus.
I went to Ivy Tech for 2.5 years, bro. I can spell anus.
You know what? I know an expert in this field.
I think I know who you're talking about.
What are you guys doing? We gotta go play Harvest Fest. I'm in here getting all of our gear, and you guys are here playing Scrabble? Again?
You know what, Maddie? You can settle this for us.
Yeah. How do you spell anus?
I'm not gonna settle another Scrabble discrepancy for you guys. That's the third time this week.
Calm down, Maddie. Harvest Fest isn't until September 14th. Gates open at 4 p.m.
Yeah. At the Miami Open Air Auditorium. Google for directions.
Are you telling me that Harvest Fest X is not until September 14th? Featuring bands such as Dwarf Among Midgets, Forgotten Ashes, Tight Like a Tiger, GPD, Resonate, and Patron? September 14th?
I'm hungry.
Shut up! There's gonna be food at Harvest Fest. The lunch break's coming down, and they're gonna make delicious burgers!
I'm not having fun anymore.
Fun? You wanna have fun? Well, I got a doozy for you, because the Kokomo Press is coming out, and they're gonna have stand-up comedians. We're talking Sean D., Pierce Clott, Michael Howard, Greg Lindberg, Alexa Eden, Davey Moomaw, Jordan Granger, Jacob Harder, Brian Allen West, and Dan Alton.
Say it, don't spray it.
Maddie! Bro.
Since you put it that way, bro. You know, you're right. You guys... I'm sorry, guys. I shouldn't have blown off the handle like that. Here's how you spell anus. A-N-U-S. Just think about it like I do. The way I remember it, it's an United States, right? So, anyways, I'll see you guys September 14th at Harvest Fest X at the Miami Open Air Auditorium. Google for directions.
Bring a tent.
I don't get it. In United States.
Hello everyone, it's the Pope Elijah Burke, founder and president of the Love Alive charity. I wanted to take this brief moment to share with you my charity's continued humanitarian efforts to positively impact the impoverished communities in and around the greater Jacksonville area. This cannot be possible without your support. If you'd be so kind, please take a moment to visit our website, love-alive.org, to learn more about the charity and its mission. Also, feel free to donate to our 501c3 organization that operates off of the donation of the public, which is you. Whether that be by website or via Cash App, $1 help makes a difference in the lives of others as we continue to positively influence many people by being the change that we wish to see in the world.
Welcome back to In Your House, and guys, you guys already know the vibes. It is myself, and it is Annie O'Neal, and it is time for us to ask, because we gotta get it off her chest. You know, we know Annie's super positive. We know that she, I think that she follows with that PMA mindset, positive mental attitude. But sometimes, even the most positive people, sometimes they get aggravated. So I have to ask, Annie, are you okay?
You know what, Con? There's a reason why I devote so much of my time to self-control. It's because I have a lot of anger that I need to keep in tow. And if it doesn't, bad things happen. And the shadow exists behind the people who have the most light. I'm just saying, it's darkness. And sometimes we have to let it out. But you asked me if I was okay. And I'm not okay, Con.
Okay.
Because I'm a very opinionated lady, and I hate admitting when I'm wrong. Just because I hate admitting I was wrong doesn't mean I'm not capable of it. I really, really don't like it, though. But I will be honest. So as much crap as I've talked about Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio, and I really hate giving credit when it's due, but it is due. And I overlooked how much of a great pair that they really are. And there is vehement internal conflict.
It hurts you to say that.
It's painful. It's painful. Like I like it. Cement shoes as I'm retracting my steps right now. But you know what? They both have the exact shit-eating grin, and she might be the rat that makes him the rat bastard.
I love it. It's good.
But they are so cohesive as a couple, and I really can't stress that enough. At the end of Dom's match with Dragon Lee, like, Liv knows how to stand by her man, and she took out the knee of Dragon Lee, and if she didn't, I don't know if Dominic could have gotten the job done himself. But when he picked her up and they were celebrating at the end of the ring, they looked like two halves of the same whole. And I really hated it and I appreciated it at the same time. No, I have to admit when I was wrong. I have to give credit where it's due, even if it pains me. Like, I'm an honest person. I have to stand on business, but my eyes saw what they saw, and that's what they saw.
And you see the evolution. You see it.
Sometimes the heels get even more healer.
Hey.
Even more heel than they'd be wearing Heelys to the ring.
That's really heely.
It really is.
That's a hell of a heel vibe right there.
You know what? Behind many successful men is a woman who holds it down. That's undeniable. And
that's true.
You know what? She is the champion. She's a women's champion for a reason. And I feel like the shenanigans between these two are only just beginning. So,
oh yeah.
Annie's not okay. Annie has to admit when she's wrong. And I'm really pissed off about it. But that's my judgment. And the verdict stands.
Hey, they're playing their role, then that's how I see it. They are playing their role. If you hate it, but you appreciate it, that's exactly the role that they're playing right now, and that's the vibe that I see. And it's just part of everything that's going on with WWE and whatnot. You guys know the vibes, but usually every now and again we'll come together, me and Annie, and if something big enough happens on NXT, just because I'm a huge NXT fan and have been since the conception of it. And I mean, I've watched NXT for years and years, so it always has a special place in my heart as far as the talent that I've seen grow into what they are now and everything that came from it. So I always try to keep up with it a little bit, but we don't normally talk about it on the show. We normally keep it to Raw, but if something happens on NXT, we'll talk about it. And I gotta say, last night's NXT was heavy. There was a lot of moving parts in there that started with a tag team championship match. I talked a little bit earlier about Nathan Frazier and Axiom and how they've grown on me as a tag team. They had a match against the Street Profits, and we don't have to sit up here and talk about match reviews or anything. We're just keeping it topical here with that, because the big news there was the Bloodline coming and invading NXT. For what reason? I mean, you had Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, and you also had Jacob Fatu to come. Now, I know they've had this rivalry that they've been working with the Street Profits, but man, to follow them to NXT is absolutely crazy. Like, I know that we talked a little bit earlier because I was like, hey, check out some of these clips, because it was so mind blowing. When I saw it, I had to. there's not a lot of things that, because I did not watch it live, there's not a lot of things when I look at updates and I have to like look at it twice. I legitimately had to look at the update, double check. I'm like, Bloodline shows up on NXT, and then so the next feeling past that was I'm rigorously going on like X and whatnot, trying to find the video of it to catch it as quickly as I can, so I can be like, let me see what's happened here. And then I watched it, and I'm like, man, this is really just good movement for me from WWE. But the only thing I could think of is that they followed the Street Profits there to further their rivalry. But I love it, and it made it feel big, especially with them moving into the CW coming soon.
And, you know, and this was the show where it opened the door to the CW era. And I really couldn't think of a better way for that to happen than for the Bloodline to be put on the NXT map. Like, when the Bloodline stood tall at the end of the match, whoo, you know that more is to come, and they're only getting started. And the Bloodline Bloodlust.
Yeah, most definitely. I just thought it was a great image to see. I did not expect that. Legitimately shocked me. But listen, I just want to bring it up real quick, Annie, because like this was a night of pivotal moments for NXT. That's why I felt like it was important. We had the debut of Julia. We had a TNA Knockouts Open Challenge with Sol Ruka. We had Obafemi. He went to war with TNA's Alexander Hammerstone, somebody whose career I followed for years, all the way back to his MLW days. It's been amazing. This was a really pivotal, like I don't really use, it's hard to say it, but like it felt like kind of groundbreaking for NXT. Like, hey, if you think we're doing this now, wait till you see what we do when we actually have that first episode on the CW. We've got CM Punk coming to the show. We've got The Miz coming to the show. We've got Randy Orton coming to the show. It just really feel like there was a lot of moments that happened in NXT that we talked about, but was there anything that kind of like really stuck out with you, like, this is really cool, this is exciting, I'm looking forward to this?
One thing I wanted to point out is like Hammerstone is an entity of his own on TNA, right?
Yeah.
And he really didn't get a lot of recognition that I felt like he was really deserved.
Yeah.
But he was put on a map in a huge way against Obafemi. Like, you know how his in-ring work is, like, just to see a guy that massive with that imminence, like, to go toe-to-toe with another Titan like Obafemi, like, that was a huge moment for Hammerstone. Like, he will definitely be tearing up the men's division over in NXT. I really, really hope that he continues to come back.
Yeah, I enjoyed seeing him. I was shocked. I don't know why. I had an idea that it might be Moose, but I'm glad it was Hammerstone. I'm sure we'll see Moose at some point.
Not yet.
I think it's coming. I do think it's coming.
I agree.
And, like, I just want to talk, like, the Julia debut. So, like, obviously she's got a big background, you know, as far as, like, being an international superstar and whatnot. And, you know, I didn't really know a whole lot about Julia when she had came up. But, like, for me getting a chance to see her, it really gave me, like, young Asuka type vibes. That's exactly what I got in terms of that she's internationally recognized, but she's also recognized for being dangerous. Because when I watched her wrestle, which was the first time that I got a chance to see her wrestle personally, because I didn't follow her indie career, but it was good to see. Sometimes I like that. Sometimes I like seeing them for the first time on WWE First and then going back and seeing their work. But I will say a lot of her offense was crisp. She felt dangerous. It was like the comp there for me would definitely be like she reminds me of like a young Asuka very much. That's what I see.
You know, I really can't wait for people who don't know who Julia is to be even more acquainted. I really like her name, or her gimmick name.
Yeah.
The Beautiful Madness.
That's
that
fine,
really. it really captivates who she is because, like, okay, Beautiful Madness, right? Like, two different ideas, and they're stuck together, you know? Like, it's a paradox, right?
Yeah.
Madness is absolutely beautiful. So is that going to show, you know, just through her physique alone? Is that going to show up through her in-ring work? Like, and we only got to see, like, such a brief snapshot of what she's capable of.
Small amount.
And this, I felt like, and I really feel like this is a great thing that's going to be leading up to her match with Roxanne.
Yeah, that's going to be big. I just think there was a lot of cool things that was set up in this night. Just NXT just came out of the gate and just had so much cool moments.
Really?
Sol Ruka fighting for the TNA Knockouts Championship. And I'll say this, there was a lot of people saying, oh, well, NXT and WWE are getting great benefits from this merger from TNA, but what's TNA getting from WWE? And I think that it was in great faith that they went ahead and had Jordynne Grace have a TNA Knockouts Open Challenge. She went up against Sol Ruka, and it just I like the trajectory of what's happening here. You know, I think that there's a lot of great things. We now know that Trick Williams, he's going to go up against Ethan Page after they had a last man standing match. I mean, once again, we're not breaking down the entire episode. We're just keeping it topical. What do you, with everything that I just laid out there for you, every single thing, like, and I'll recap it real quick. The Bloodline come, TNA's Hammerstone shows up, an open challenge for the TNA Knockouts Championship, Julia's debut, you know, a last man standing match. Across the board, what do you think that NXT is setting the standard for moving into this obviously new era? And do you think that we can see like a lot more TNA stars moving up as they make that transition to the CW?
I really thought this episode of NXT was a perfect launching pad as we transition to CW. All of the right moves were made with all of the right people, and just the dynamics alone, like, Sol Ruka was an interesting competitor against Jordynne Grace. Speed versus power. Like, It was only going to end one way, and that was with, well, it ended with Lights Out and Wendy Chu and Rosemary, but big boom. Unstoppable force meets a movable object. Like, I mean, that's the definition of a juggernaut, like, big boom. So I really appreciated that match. And, you know, Pete Dunne, again, just an amazing in-ring performer. Like, you're gonna get magic no matter what. And just, I just really loved the contention between Pete Dunne and Trick Williams. I loved it. But I really thought that match was a great setup to inevitably put Trick Williams back into that NXT championship with Ethan Page. So I really loved the gamut that Trick Williams ran after he lost the belt the first time. And just how he's pulled himself up out of that pit he was in, you know, because after losing a championship, like, it can put you into a hole. So how do you reinvent yourself to come back even stronger? Like, he didn't accept defeat. He didn't take no as an answer, and he emerged himself victoriously tonight. And that's exactly what we needed from Trick Williams. So,
yeah, no, I agree with that. Most definitely. I think that we can see something happen with Trick Williams possibly becoming champion again, and I think that will be the right move. But I just got to say, across the board, I mean, Monday and Tuesday night was just great. You know, it just every now and then it's really nice to just get like those banger episodes, and then boom, you get another one on Tuesday, because the whole name of the game really is like get people talking. And I really feel like that this past episode of NXT really did a good job of doing just that. It got people talking, and it's great as they move into this new era. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, there's not a lot these days that makes me like double take when I see something. And when I saw the Bloodline on NXT, I'm like, what? For why? For what?
Exactly.
Like, I was like,
you didn't see it coming.
Yeah, I'm like,
you had no idea. Like, I had the same reaction. I'm like, what just happened? What is happening? But I'm glad it did, because it gives us great content to talk about on our show.
Absolutely, and of course that is the Raw deal with Howse O'Neal. OG Tony saying, "Oh, Grace wrestles Wendy Chu on TNA Victory." Oh, okay, so Wendy Chu's going over to TNA. I love that. That is fire. I like to see that. Bruzy, appreciate you, bro. Showing love to you there in the chat. Went back. Levi McDaniel, got to show you love, bro. We was in mid conversation, so we was just moving. We had comments here from Pinfall Wrestling Zone, so we appreciate y'all's contributions there a little bit earlier in the show. But we got to ride off into the sunset here. We got to call this a really great episode, because that's exactly what it was, and it usually is when myself and Annie get together. So I got to give my great co-host here an opportunity, a chance to plug anything that she wants to plug, any upcoming appearances, podcast. You already know the vibe. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to give the floor to the big dog, Annie O'Neal. What do you got?
Well, I have an episode of Bumping and Thumping with TJ Meyer dropping this weekend. I got the Anime Assault solo on deck for tomorrow. You know what? You can find me training, lifting weights. I broke another PR today. I'm setting up PRs and then breaking them. That's just what I do. That's my mode. No wrestling shows this weekend. Oh, I do have Ganja Grappler this weekend, where I will be lending my voice. It's the first weed infused event in Michigan, or BJJ event in Michigan. That's happened, and my friend Katie Priest, breaking down barriers, breaking stigmas, because potheads, we're capable of anything that we think of, we can achieve, and I'll be lending my voice to that event this weekend. That's all for me this week. How about you, Con? You got so many things going on yourself.
Oh, yes, most definitely. And it starts with something this weekend that I get a chance to do. I get a chance to go back to Columbus, Indiana, and get on that commentary table a little bit of color commentary for Emerge 81 Fight for Freedom. That's September 14th, 2024. At the Bartholomew County Fairground Community Building there in Columbus, Indiana. Doors at 6, bell time at 7. And, of course, guys, check out my interview series that I did for Emerge Wrestling, as I sat down with Paragon and later sat down with the Infinite Man Tim and got their thoughts, final fight thoughts before their bout this Saturday for the Emerge World Heavyweight Championship. So that is going to be great, guys. Check that out if you guys are in the area. And then, guys, you already know I'm going to be right here doing my thing here at In Your House, and making sure that the In Your House podcast network has some great content. So, of course, Sunday we have a big episode, pretty much like our season premiere. So hopefully we can get as much we can get as much of the team together for this Sunday episode, because it is a big episode. And the reason why this episode is big is for two reasons. One is because we will go ahead and announce our on location house party that is going to be going down. Where is it going down at? When is it going down at? What is the situation? We're about to announce it this Sunday at the house party, and that's going to be great because I'm super excited. I can't believe we've kept this close to our chest as long as we have, because I've been wanting to just blurt it out, but we've kept it close to our chest. That's just how I am. Like, I get excited about something. I'm like, man, I want to tell everybody now, but we waited.
I'm horrible at gift giving.
Yes, and this is going to be big.
Nope.
But the other reason why this episode is big is because we are going to welcome on the veteran Jack Vaughn to In Your House. Guys, if you don't know who he is, which you should, he is a gritty professional wrestler who is really, he's really become noteworthy for his tongue-in-cheek and satirical viral videos about the pro wrestling business. But don't let the viral videos fool you. This guy is a bruiser in the ring, former OVW World Heavyweight Champion. Jack Vaughn joins us here at In Your House, and then we have a big announcement to make on that episode. And then Monday, check out Window Lickers. You guys already know that's The Voice, Josh Joseph, and Grunmeister. And they had a great guest, and that was the Chaos Goblin, Kevin Calloway. Just really came in and had some great insights. Thoroughly enjoyed listening to those three chop it up about many different things, whether it be Monday Night Raw, a little bit of football. They talked a little concert. It was a very good vibe between those three. So hopefully we can get that more in the future. And then Tuesdays, well, kind of rotating, just because, hypocrisy be high all the time. Then because he's high, he gives you guys a little bit of opportunity to throw out a smoke sesh, and that's about a 12 to 15-minute podcast episode where he just gives you current events, keeps you up to date with the current events going down in wrestling. You might be on break smoking. You might be on your way to work. It's just a little bite size just to get you through that break. Boom, boom, boom. And we talk a little wrestling. And then, of course, guys, on Wednesday, it is the Raw Deal with Howse and O'Neal, where myself and the amazing Annie O'Neal come together and we talk Monday Night Raw. And sometimes we'll talk a little bit of NXT. You never know. And those are normally great episodes. But also Thursday and tomorrow. So tomorrow, y'all, I just want y'all to know, make sure that you're paying attention. If you're following, hit that follow button, because I think a lot of you guys listen to the show, but you got to make sure that you follow us on Spotify and follow us on Apple Podcasts. So hit that follow button, because tomorrow you'll be getting a notification for a new show that we're debuting on the In Your House Podcast Network, and that's Paragon, and he hosts Dear Pro Wrestling, and it is a self-help podcast for professional wrestlers to kind of help you get through that grind of being a professional wrestler. It is by wrestlers for wrestlers, so go ahead and check that out. That is going to be amazing. And then Friday, myself and the educator of Extreme, The Voice, Josh Joseph, we come together and we give you guys a little bit of that AI generated ECW goodness, and then we do a watch along. We go back to the 90s. We check out a match from ECW, and we just sit and watch some wrestling, because at the end of the day, this is what this is, y'all. It's just the homies watching wrestling. That's exactly what it is. And Grun gives you that Friday night SmackDown preview show, Grun's Room. Check that out. We got a whole catalog of great content and great content creators here at In Your House, and I'm proud of the group that we have put together. So, Annie, we're going to get out of here. We're going to call this a great episode. And, of course, before we do that, I got to let them know where they can follow us at, and that's In Your House, and that's the In Your House Wrestling Podcast. Follow us on Facebook, on YouTube, anywhere that you got. If social media out there, we got it. We got it all. So check it out. Put us in there and make sure that you type it in right. It's HOWSE, and the W stands for work. So for Divinely Designed Danny O'Neal, for The Voice, Josh Joseph, for Hypocrisy Jones, for Grunmeister, for the world's most dangerous podcaster, Paragon, I'm Alakan, the Concept House, here to remind you to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend, to hop on this bandwagon. Get on or get gone, because the household is still going mighty strong. You guys have a great day and a great rest of your week. Peace.
Yeah. In your house with O'Con. Hey, O'Con, in your house. Hollywood in your house. Hypocrisy's head in the clouds. Curating all kind of loud. Wrestling in front of the crowds. Paragon's holding it down. Anybody can get it. Josh Joseph standing on his decisions. He is the voice, there is no choice. We is them boys in your house making wrestling noise. Moving fast, it's like cruiserweight action. Your house is the perfect distraction. Pumpers in your ears when you in traction. Get this work with some wrestling action. Smoke.